Now we are going to see how do we find the intensity at a particular point on the screen due to diffraction. So we have been studying diffraction and we saw the various conditions to obtain maxima and minima on the screen due to the process of diffraction. So first of all, we are going to see how we obtain intensity. How do we obtain the formula of intensity at a particular point on the screen? So to find the intensity, first of all, we are going to discuss the phasor diagram method. So we will use this method to find the intensity at a particular point on the screen due to diffraction. So first of all, we will see what is this method, and then we will see how this method is used to find intensity at a point on the screen due to diffraction. First of all, we are going to take a simple example of two waves which are superimposing on each other. So to understand this phasor diagram method, first of all, we are going to take an example of two waves which superimpose on each other, which have a phase difference of phi. So phi is the phase difference between these two waves. Now let's say the first wave E1, it is given by A1. A1 is the amplitude of the wave and cos of omega t. So this function, it gives us the variation of the displacement with time. So the first wave is given by E1 is equal to A1 cos of omega t, and second wave, since we are considering two waves, so we have E2, which is the displacement of the second wave. So E2 is equal to A2. So A2 is the amplitude of the second wave into cos of omega t plus phi. Here we have considered two waves which are superimposing on each other with a phase difference of phi. So the phase of first wave is 0 and the phase of second wave is phi with respect to the first. So phase difference will be equal to phi. So phase difference between these two waves will be equal to phi. So this is the equation of first wave and this is the equation of second wave. So now we are going to see how do we find the resultant amplitude and the resultant phase. So we are going to find the resultant amplitude and the resultant phase of the wave which comes due to the superimposition of these two waves. So using this phasor diagram method, we will find the resultant amplitude and the resultant phase. So first of all, we will see how to draw a phasor diagram method. So we are going to see how to draw phasor diagram in this particular case. So first of all, we will see we have the first wave. It has amplitude A1 and its phase is equal to 0. So first of all, we will draw a line starting from point A to point B. Now we will draw a vector from A to B point, and the length of this vector will be proportional to A1, which is the amplitude of the first wave. So we have drawn the first arrow in the horizontal direction because its phase is equal to 0. So we have drawn this line in the horizontal direction. So the length of this vector will be proportional to A1. Then we will draw the second vector. We will draw second vector such that its length will be proportional to A2. Its length will be proportional to A2 and it will be at an angle of phi with respect to the first vector. Now what is phi? Phi is the phase difference. So it is the phase with respect to the first wave. So phi is the phase of the second wave with respect to the first wave. The first wave had a phase of 0. So there was cos omega t plus 0. So phase of the first wave was 0 and phase of the second one is phi. So the second vector which is drawn, it is drawn at an angle of phi and the angle is taken in the anti-clockwise direction. So we draw a vector from this final point B. So we draw it in such a manner that its length is proportional to A2 and the angle it makes with the horizontal is nothing but this angle phi. So from point A, draw line AB. So from point A we draw a line AB proportional to A1. So this, let's say this is A1. Now draw a line BC which is proportional to A2. So this line BC is proportional to A2. And it is drawn in a direction making an angle phi anti-clockwise with AB produced. So we have produced AB in this right hand side direction. So this BC vector, it makes an angle of phi in an anti-clockwise direction. Then the length AC, this length AC, it will give us the resultant amplitude. So the length AC represents amplitude A of the resultant wave. Now this resultant wave is the final wave due to the superimposition of these two waves, and that resultant wave will have certain amplitude and it will have a certain phase with respect to the first wave. So this vector, AC vector, the length of this vector will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. So whatever will be the length, it will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. And this angle with respect to the first wave, the angle which AC vector makes with the first wave, this particular angle, let's say it is alpha. So this angle will be nothing but the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first wave. Then the length AC represents amplitude A of the resultant wave, and angle CAB, that is this alpha angle, it represents the phase of resultant wave with respect to E1, with respect to the first wave. So E1 is the first wave. So this diagram is called as phasor diagram, and this method of finding the amplitude and the phase of the resultant wave is called as the phase diagram method. Now we will see the same example with 3 waves, and then we will see the same example with n number of waves. So if we have various number of waves, that is large number of waves that are superimposing on each other, so the same method can be used to find the resultant amplitude and the phase for the case of 3 waves as well as for the case of n number of waves. So in diffraction method also, if you are interested to find the amplitude at this particular point, so at this particular point you can see there are large number of waves that are superimposing at this particular point. So we can use the phasor diagram method to find the resultant amplitude of the resultant wave. So this method will be used to find the intensity in the case of diffraction pattern. Now let's consider there are 3 waves. So first wave E1 will be equal to A1 cos omega t, its phase will be equal to 0. Now the second wave E2 is given by A2 cos omega t plus phi. So this second wave has a phase of phi with respect to the first. Now the third wave is given by E3 is equal to A3 cos of omega t plus twice of phi. So this is just, we are supposing that the phase of the second wave is phi with respect to the first and the phase of third wave is 2 phi with respect to the first. So we will again draw the phasor diagram. So first of all we will draw an arrow from A to B point such that this length will be proportional to A1. So let's say this length is equal to A1 and its phase is equal to 0. Now second wave will be drawn from the final point B. So second wave will be drawn, second arrow will be drawn from this point such that it makes an angle of phi with the horizontal axis. With this horizontal axis it makes an angle of phi, and its length will be proportional to A2, which is the amplitude of the second wave. Similarly, we draw the third arrow. So the third vector will be drawn from the C point, and that vector will have the length will be proportional to A3, which is the amplitude of the third wave. So the length of this vector will be A3, and it will make an angle of twice of phi because the third form of the wave, it has a phase of 2 phi with respect to the first. The first had a phase of 0 and it had an extra phase of 2 phi as compared to the first wave. So this CD vector, it will make an angle of 2 phi with this horizontal. So horizontal is nothing but this AB vector. So this horizontal, it represents this AB vector, direction of this AB vector. So it will make an angle of 2 phi with respect to the horizontal. So now this AD vector, the resultant AD vector, the length of this vector will be the resultant amplitude. So this will be the amplitude of the resultant wave. And the angle which this AD vector will make with the horizontal, let's say that vector is gamma. So let's say this vector is gamma. So this angle will be the resultant phase of this resultant wave with respect to the horizontal, or you can say this gamma will be the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first wave. So phase with respect to E1, which is the first wave, that will be equal to gamma. So resultant wave's amplitude is given by A, which is the length of this vector joining the initial to the end point, and the angle which this vector makes with the horizontal will be the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first. Now we are taking an example of n number of waves that are superimposing at a particular point. So we have taken n number of such waves. So E1 represents the displacement of the first wave, E2 represents the displacement of second wave, and so on, E3, E4 up to En. Now, as we have considered in the previous case, we had E1, E2, E3, and each wave has an amplitude of A1, A2, A3, and so on. But in this case, we will consider all the waves have same amplitude. So amplitude will be capital E for the case of first wave and capital E for the case of second wave, and so on. The amplitude will be the same. Now phase of the first wave, as in this case the phase of the first wave was 0, the phase of second wave with respect to the first was phi, then phase of the third wave with respect to the first was 2 phi. So similarly we will assume over here the first wave has a phase of 0, second wave has a phase phi with respect to first, third has a phase of 2 phi with respect to the first, fourth has a phase of 3 phi with respect to the first, and so on. The last wave will have a phase of n-1 phi with respect to the first. So in the same way we will draw the phasor diagram in this case also. So first of all we are going to draw the first vector for the case of first wave. So it has an amplitude of E and it has a phase of 0. So we will draw a horizontal line from O to point, let's say this is A point, small e point. So the length of the vector will be E and it will be drawn along the horizontal direction. Now this represents the first wave. Now the vector for the case of second wave, it will have an amplitude of E, that is the length will remain the same, but it will be inclined at an angle of phi. So this second vector which represents the second wave, it will be inclined at an angle of phi with respect to the first. So this vector which we have drawn over here, this is for the case of second wave, and it will have length which will be same as that of the first vector, but it will be inclined at an angle of phi with respect to the first, or you can say with respect to the horizontal axis. Then we have the third wave. Third wave has the same amplitude E and it makes an angle of 2 phi with respect to the first. So the third vector will make an angle of 2 phi with respect to the first. So let's say this point was small a, so this point is assumed to be small b, this point let's say it is small c, and so on. Now the fourth vector, it will make an angle of 3 phi. So angle is always taken in the anti-clockwise direction and the angle is taken with respect to the horizontal. Now the fifth vector, it will make an angle of 4 phi. Sixth vector will make an angle of 5 times phi, and so on. We will have n number of vectors. Now the last vector, let's say this vector, let's say this is the last vector, and it will make an angle of n minus 1 times phi. So let's say this is the nth vector and it represents the nth wave. So it will make an angle of n minus 1 times phi. Keep in mind the direction of these vectors, the direction of these waves, they are along a particular direction. So let's say this is the first wave, then this is the second wave, then we have the third wave, and so on. We will have n number of waves. So these all waves are superimposing at a particular point, and they are, let's say they are traveling in the same direction. But this is a phasor diagram. This direction of the vector, it do not get confused with the direction of this vector with the direction of the wave. So the waves, they are superimposing at a particular point, which is we are considering. So they are superimposing at a particular point, and these directions do not represent the direction of the wave. So these are just the phasor diagrams which we draw to find the amplitude of the resultant wave. So this is just a diagram which is used to find the amplitude of the resultant wave. So in actual, there are n number of waves which are superimposing at a particular point in space. So let's say this is the nth vector and it represents the nth wave. So this is the last wave, so this is the last vector, and it will make an angle of n minus 1 times phi with respect to the horizontal. So this OP vector, this vector OP, the length of this vector, it will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. So when all these waves, all these n number of waves, they will superimpose at a particular point in space, so they will result into the resultant wave, and that wave will have a certain amplitude. So this phasor diagram, it helps us in determining the amplitude of the resultant wave. So the length of this vector OP, it will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave, and let's say that is ER. So OP represents the resultant, it represents the resultant amplitude, and that is equal to, we are supposing that it is equal to ER. And let's say this angle which this resultant vector OP vector, it is making with the horizontal, let's say this angle is beta. Now this angle beta, it represents the phase of the resultant wave. So the resultant wave that we get after the superimposition of all these waves, so that resultant wave, so we are talking about that particular resultant wave, that it will have an amplitude of ER, and phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first, the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first wave will be equal to beta. So phase of resultant wave with respect to first is given by beta. Now what we need to find is formula for the resultant amplitude and the phase of the resultant wave. So we need to find the formula for ER and beta. So now we will do various mathematical calculations, then we will find the formula for ER and beta using this phasor diagram. The method to find ER and beta will be very simple. So using this phasor diagram, we will find the value, the formula for ER and that of beta. So what will be the method? So these are the vectors. So this is the first vector, second vector, third vector, fourth vector, and all these vectors. So these n number of waves, they superimpose. So the resultant wave that we get is this OP vector, and the amplitude of the resultant wave is ER. So first of all, we will find the horizontal components of these all small vectors. So first of all, we will find the horizontal component of first vector, then horizontal component of second vector, then horizontal component of third vector, and so on. We will find the horizontal component of nth vector. Now these are all the individual vectors which sum up to the resultant vector. So these all small vectors, they sum up to give us the resultant vector. So the summation of the horizontal components of all these vectors will be equal to the horizontal component of this resultant vector. So I am repeating over here again that these small vectors, they sum up to give us this OP vector. So the summation of the horizontal components of all these vectors will be equal to the horizontal component of the resultant vector, as well as the summation of the vertical components of all these vectors. As you know that any vector which is making, let's say it is making an angle of theta, and let's say this is a vector. So this vector, it is making an angle of theta. So what will be its horizontal component? It will be a cos theta, and its vertical component will be a sin theta. So now we will divide every vector into its horizontal and its vertical component. Similarly, we will divide this OP vector, which is the resultant vector. We will divide this OP vector also into its horizontal and its vertical component. So now we will just simply, what we will do is, we will do the summation of horizontal components of these small vectors, and we will equate it to the horizontal component of this resultant vector. So we will get one equation from there. And then we will do the summation of vertical components of all these vectors, and we will equate those summations to the vertical component of this OP vector. So we will find horizontal component and we equate it to the horizontal component of resultant vectors. Then we do the summation of the vertical components, and then we equate that summation of the vertical components to the vertical component of this resultant vector. So horizontal component of OP, which is the resultant vector, that will be equal to summation of horizontal components of all the n vectors which we had drawn in the previous diagram. Now horizontal component of OP, that will be equal to ER cos beta, because OP vector was making an angle of beta with respect to horizontal. So ER cos beta, that will be the horizontal component of OP vector. So that will be equal to, so the horizontal component of first vector will be E cos 0, because it was parallel to the horizontal. The first vector was AB vector, that was parallel to the horizontal. So E cos 0 will be the horizontal component of first vector, plus horizontal component of second vector will be E cos phi, because it was making an angle of phi with respect to horizontal. And similarly plus E cos 2 phi plus E cos 3 phi, and we will do the summation of the horizontal components of all the n vectors, and the horizontal component of the nth vector will be E cos of n minus 1 times phi, because n minus 1 times phi was the angle which the nth vector it made with the horizontal. Similarly, we will do the summation of the vertical components of all the vectors, and we will equate that to the vertical component of the OP vector. So vertical component of OP vector will be ER sin beta. So that will be equal to E cos 90 degree, because first, or you can say it will be E sin 0. So the first vector, first AB vector, it was making an angle of 0 degree with the horizontal. So its horizontal component will be E cos 0, and its vertical component will be E sin 0, plus the vertical component of the second vector will be E sin phi. Then vertical component of third vector will be E sin 2 phi, then E sin 3 phi, and so on. The vertical component of nth vector will be E sin n minus 1 times phi. So we will get two equations. from the phasor diagram which we had drawn. So this first component over here, this first term, so cos 0 is nothing but 1, so this will be just equal to E. So this will be just equal to E. Then E sin 0 is nothing but 0, so this component will be equal to 0. So this is the first equation and this is the second equation. First of all, we will multiply the first equation, that is this equation, with 2 times sine phi by 2. So this you have to remember that you have to multiply the first equation by twice of sine phi by 2. So on the left hand side we will get twice of ER cos beta will remain as it is times sine of phi by 2, and on the right hand side we will take E as common. So here we have E in the second term also. In all the terms we have capital E as common. So capital E can be taken common. So the first term was just equal to capital E. So if we take capital E outside and we multiply twice of sine phi by 2 with every term on the right hand side also. So what we will get, the first term will be twice of sine phi by 2. So we have taken E common. So the first term will be 1 plus cos phi plus cos 2 phi plus cos 3 phi and so on. And side by side we are multiplying by twice of sine phi by 2. So every term, with every term you will multiply by twice of sine phi by 2. So what we will get? E will remain as it is outside the bracket. So first term will become twice of sine phi by 2 plus cos phi into twice of sine phi by 2 plus cos 2 phi as it is, cos 2 phi will remain as it is, then twice of sine phi by 2 up to so on. The last term will be cos of n minus 1 times phi, then twice of sine phi by 2. So now we will use over here, we will use the formula of twice of cos A into cos B. Sorry, we have cos A and we have sin B. So we will use the formula of twice of cos A into sin B, and that is nothing but equal to sine of A plus B minus sine of A minus B. So the first term is nothing but twice of sine phi by 2. It will remain as it is. Now we will simplify twice of cos phi into sine phi by 2. So it will be 2 cos A sine B. So we will use this formula. So twice of cos phi into sine phi by 2, that will be equal to sine of A plus B. Now what is A? It is phi plus B. B is phi by 2. So that will be phi plus phi by 2. That will be 3 phi by 2 minus sine of A minus B. So we will get phi minus phi by 2. That will be just phi by 2. So this is the second term which we have written. Now the third term we will write it in the form twice of cos 2 phi sine phi by 2. So that will be equal to sine of A plus B. Now what is A? It is 2 phi and B will remain the same, that is phi by 2. So 2 phi plus phi by 2 will be 5 phi by 2 minus sine of 2 phi minus phi by 2. So that is A minus B. So 2 phi minus phi by 2, that will be 3 phi by 2. And so on. Twice of cos, you will get the third term, you will get cos 3 phi into sine phi by 2. So that will be equal to sine of 3 phi plus phi by 2, that will be 7 phi by 2 minus sine of 3 phi minus phi by 2, that will be 5 phi by 2, and so on. You will write it for all the terms. So for the last term, twice of cos n minus 1 times phi times sine phi by 2, that will be equal to sine of n minus 1 times phi plus 5 by 2. So when you will do n minus 1 into 5 plus 5 by 2, so that will be a plus b. So a plus b will be equal to 2n minus 1 by 2 times 5. Then you will get minus sign of 2n minus 3 divided by 2 times 5. So you can do it by your own, that a plus b will be equal to 2n minus 1 by 2 into 5. Then a minus b will be equal to 2n minus 3 divided by 2 into 5. Now when you will put all these values in this equation that we had written, so you will see this sine 3 phi by 2 when you will do the summation of all these terms. So here you have 2 cos phi sin phi by 2 plus this term, then plus again the next term, and so on. You have to do the summation of all these terms. So you have to do summation of these terms. Now when you will do summation of these terms, you will see sine 3 phi by 2, it will cancel with minus sine 3 phi by 2. Then sine phi by 2, it will cancel with minus sine phi by 2. Similarly, sine 7 phi by 2 will cancel with minus sine 7 phi by 2 in the next term. So this last term over here, this negative sign of this particular term, it will get cancelled with the previous equation. It will cancel with the term in the previous equation, and only this term will remain as it is and this term will remain as it is. So now we will put these two terms in this equation. So what we will get? The left hand side will remain as it is, so this will remain as it is. Now what will be on the right hand side? So it will be e times twice of sine phi by 2. It will remain as it is, so we have not changed the first term. So we had written the second, third, fourth and all the terms over here. So we had not changed the first term, so it will remain as it is. Now what we have in all other terms, minus sine phi by 2 and sine of 2n minus by 2 into phi. So these terms will remain from these remaining terms. So we will get minus sine phi by 2. Then you have plus sine of 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into 5. So we will simplify it. We have 2 sine phi by 2 minus sine phi by 2. So that will be equal to sine phi by 2. Plus this term will remain as it is, that is sine of 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into 5. So this is the equation that we had got after simplifying the horizontal component, after simplifying this first equation. So this was the equation that we had got on the previous page. So we will use the formula of sine A plus sine B over here. So we will use the formula of sine A plus sine B. So sine A plus sine B is equal to twice of sine of a plus b divided by 2 into cos of a minus b divided by 2. So we will use the formula of sine a. So a is nothing but 5 by 2 and b is nothing but 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into 5. So when you will use this formula, this equation, it will become, so left hand side will remain as it is, that is 2 into er cos beta into sine phi by 2. It will remain as it is, so that will be equal to e times twice of, so we are putting the formula of sine a plus sine b, so that is nothing but twice of sine of a plus b divided by 2. So we will do 5 by 2 a plus b, so b is nothing but 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into 5. So that will be equal to n phi. So that will be equal to n times phi. So a plus b will be equal to n phi, and a minus b, that is phi by 2 minus of 2n minus 1 divided by 2 into phi. So that will be equal to n minus 1 times phi. So you will solve this equation, a minus b and a plus b. So a plus b will be equal to n phi and a minus b will be equal to n minus 1 times phi. So this equation, the right hand side will become twice of sine of a plus b divided by 2. Now what is a plus b? It is n phi. So n phi divided by 2 into cos of a minus b. So a minus b is n minus 1 times phi divided by 2. So from here 2 will cancel with 2, and from here er cos beta, it will be equal to er cos beta. So sin phi by 2 we can take it on the right hand side. So it will be equal to e times sin n phi divided by 2 into cos of n minus 1 into phi divided by 2 divide by sin of phi divided by 2. So this is the equation that we had got from the first equation. So we had written two equations on the previous page. First was for the horizontal component and second one was the vertical component. So this equation we have got after simplifying the horizontal component equation. That is the first equation that we had written. Similarly, we can derive the same formula for the vertical component. So the equation that we had got, second equation, so we will use the same steps and we will get the ER formula for ER sin beta. So here we have got the formula for ER cos beta using the first equation, and using the similar steps we can find the formula of ER sin beta. So that will come out to be equal to E times sin n phi divided by 2 into sine of n minus 1 into phi divided by 2 whole divided by sine of phi divided by 2. So this is the formula of ER sin beta that you will get after simplifying this second equation that we had written on the previous page. So first of all, what we will do is we will square these two equations that we have got. So we will square and we will add these two equations. So what we will get, ER square cos square beta, and we will do this square on the right hand side also. Similarly, we will get ER square sin square beta and we will do square on the right hand side, and then we will do the summation. So on the left hand side what you will get, ER square cos square beta plus ER square sin square beta. So from there ER square it can be taken common. So what you will get, so first of all you will do square and then you will add these two equations. First of all you will do square on both hand sides of these two equations, and then you will add the equations that you will get after doing the square. So you will get ER square into cos square beta plus sin square beta. So ER square can be taken common. So cos square beta plus sin square beta will remain inside the bracket, and on the right hand side you will get E square. So you will do square E square and you will get sin square n phi divided by 2. So I am doing this square of the right hand side of the first equation of this equation. So you will get E square sin square n phi divided by 2 into cos square n minus 1 phi divided by 2 divide by sin square phi by 2 plus, because we are doing the square and then we are adding, so we will do the square of the second equation. So second equation is E, so square of this will be E square, then you will get sin square n phi divided by 2, then you will have sin square n minus 1 phi divided by 2 whole divided by sin square phi by 2. So this sin square phi by 2, these are common, and E square is also common, and then sin square n phi by 2, this is also common. So these can be taken outside. So you will get E square sin square n phi divided by 2 whole divided by sin square phi by 2, and inside the bracket you will get cos square n minus 1 phi by 2 plus you will get sin square n minus 1 phi divided by 2. So this is nothing but equal to 1. So cos square theta plus sin square theta is equal to 1. So this whole term will be equal to 1. Similarly, this term will also be equal to 1. So from here you will get ER square. So you will get ER square. It will be equal to E square sin square n phi divided by 2 whole divided by sin square phi by 2. So this is the equation that we have got for the case of the amplitude. So now we will do the square root on both hand sides. So you will get the amplitude of the resultant wave. So ER is nothing but the amplitude of the resultant wave, and it will come out to be equal to ER will be equal to E sin n phi by 2 divided by sin phi by 2. So we will do square root on both hand sides. So ER will be equal to, so from here ER will be equal to E sin n phi by 2 divided by sin phi by 2. So this is the amplitude of the resultant wave. Similarly, you can find the formula for beta. So beta, it was the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first. So in the starting of the lecture we had talked about finding the formula for the amplitude of the resultant wave as well as for the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first wave. So this beta can be found out from these two equations. So we have found out ER from these two equations. Similarly, you can find beta from these two equations, and the step will be to divide these two equations. So just we will divide these two equations. So ER will cancel with ER, and cos beta divided by sin beta, it will be equal to cot beta. So cos divided by sin is nothing but cot beta. So E will cancel with E, sin n phi by 2, this will cancel with sin n phi by 2, and this sin phi by 2 will cancel with this sin phi by 2, and on the right hand side you will just get cos of n minus 1 phi by 2 divided by sin of n minus 1 phi divided by 2. So on the left hand side you will get cot of beta, and on the right hand side you will get cot of n minus 1 into phi divided by 2. So from there you can easily see that beta will come out to be equal to n minus 1 into phi divided by 2. So this is the general formula of phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first, and this is the general formula for finding the amplitude of the resultant wave. So this is the formula for phase, and this is the formula for the amplitude of the resultant wave.